qualification race. Everybody is through into this main championship race, and it is this race, Andre, that will decide our champion. And that champion, of course, will also carry 40 team points for whatever car number he drives into the main NASCAR Whelen Euro Series when we get things underway.
Yes, right. This is the final race of the first ever EuroNASCAR Esports Series, and I think it's all between Andre Castro, Tobias Dauenhauer, and maybe Loris Hesemans. Before this event, there were several other drivers who had mathematically the chance to get the championship crown and the TJ ring you already mentioned earlier. But I think it's down to Andre Castro, Tobias Dauenhauer, and Loris Hesemans. And Dauenhauer, he starts from the first starting line row, from the first row, and then he has Andre Castro right behind his back. But I think Andre Castro is going to play it very safe, try to get a solid top 5 result and then clinch the championship title. But we have already seen the madness that is going on here in the second heat. One slight mistake, one single mistake, and we have a big one. And yeah, even in the front row, you're not safe. So it's all about getting the concentration high and doing the best you can, and have a little bit of luck, of course, too.
Absolutely. Well, Andre Castro has had that little bit of luck all the way through the season, apart from that little blip at Watkins Glen. Remember, all of the drivers in identical cars in reality, so they're all in the NASCAR Cup Series car, whether it be the Ford or the Chevy or the Toyota. They're all running exactly the same fixed setup that is agreed at the beginning, running in the week running into it, all with full damage modelling as well. There's no resets in this one, and as ever, race control is fully manned for duty and will dish out penalties if needs be. I just hope that our champion, whoever it may be, has a clean race and the championship isn't decided by a strange accident or a back marker not getting out of the way. Let's hope that the blue flags are observed when the quicker cars are coming through. So Tobias Dauenhauer and Simon Palat on the front row of the grid. Simon Palat not in the championship hunt, but Tobias Dauenhauer very much is. Row 2 the grid, Andre Castro and Alan Day both in the championship hunt. We get the final race underway. It's a 30-minute race. It's a 3 wide by the look of things, almost further back, but it's Tobias Dauenhauer that will lead, from Andre Castro in second place. Ulysse Delceau side by side with Alan Day, but Alan Day is through into third. Ulysse Delceau down into fourth, and Simon Palat, who was second on the grid, is down into fifth, up to fourth again as he throws one up the inside of Ulysse Delceau as they head through Sterrenbach Bucht. And then Ulysse Delceau is also picked off by Bavo Fallon by the look of things. Brian Krul's kind of 378, not that far away either. We go on board with the 6th place car, Bavo Fallon, working his way out of Lucian Bianchi-Bocht and down the straight in towards the cleaner chicane. Up towards the left and the right flicks of the cleaner chicane. You could see in the background Loris Hesemans looking to try and make progress as he jinked his number 50 Hendricks Ford out to try and gain a place. That was over Giorgio Maggi, his former teammate from last year. So up to 11th now for Loris Hesemans, who needs to do better than this based on where Andre Castro is at the moment. Remember, if Andre Castro, the car that's in second place, and there's Hesemans has had a mistake. There's a problem for Hesemans as he's gone in towards the Villeneuve chicane, and that's damage to the Hendricks Ford, and that has undone all of the hard work that he's been doing since the first championship round took place on the 28th of April. So that looks as though that is one of the championship protagonists out of this race, unless something miraculous happens for Loris Hesemans, who's way down now in 18th position. I was about to say, if Andre Castro finishes in first, second, or in third place, regardless of what happens to Loris Hesemans, he would still be the champion. At the moment, it looks as though everything is going to plan for Andre Castro, but it's a long old race, isn't it? 30 minutes ahead of us. Anything could happen.
Yes, right. We have already seen it, the drama with Loris Hesemans. He was the first guy who was taken out of the competition for the first EuroNASCAR Esports Series title. But Tobias Dauenhauer is doing a good job at front. He's having a good start. He has a good pace. So in the end, he's doing his job, and he's doing the maximum he has to do to get the championship ring. He's in first position, but he needs some help from Andre Castro, and that means Andre Castro has to make a big mistake. We will check the math later. What has to happen when Tobias Dauenhauer is in first, and what has to happen to Andre Castro to get to
I
have the Tobias Auenauer the champion. I think you have something prepared for that, right?
I've got all the maths, yeah. All the maths have been done, my spreadsheet. We just saw a quick replay of the start there from the perspective of Alan Day. If Tobias Dauenhauer wins this race, he is on 328 points, which means that he would need Andre Castro to finish in 10th position, because then Andre would be on 327. So that's the way it needs to work. And at the moment, Andre Castro is comfortably sitting there in second position, back towards the tail end of the field, or the mid-pack. Stefan Cressin is busy fighting away, trying to pick off cars around him, including Jakob Krafek. So that's two of our team partner cars that are together there. The Most car ahead of the Hockenheim car, back towards the fight for the lead. We go on board onto the bumper cam of Andre Castro, the American lying there in second position. He will already know the maths. He knows exactly what he needs to do, and that is, he doesn't need to overtake Tobias Dauenhauer. Given the opportunity, of course he will, but he will want to make sure that that opportunity is a clean one. And he will also be mindful, Andre, that even whilst Alan Day is behind him in third place, and even if Alan Day gets through and up to second, Andre Castro can still afford to sit in third, regardless of what happens, and he'd still be the champion. But now he's got to run on Tobias Dauenhauer. I thought he might be safe and just sit there, but now he almost got a run there coming in towards the Villeneuve chicane. Wasn't to be. At the last minute, Dauenhauer just got the move covered off, so the order remains the same. Dauenhauer from Andre Castro, Alan Day in third place, Simon Palat in fourth, but well, Andre Castro, I think he wants to win this in the best possible way, become the champion with another victory if he can.
Yes, I think so. Right now, he's in a very tough spot. He's in a sandwich between Tobias Dauenhauer and Alan Day. Not a nice and comfortable situation, but if he gets into first place and builds up a gap, he's in a more comfortable way than right now. So the one strategy is play it safe, stay calm, and stay in this position. The other one is try to get the first place, build up a gap, and then just try to relax.
We look at Brian Crowells there, who is looking to put the car ahead of him under pressure, which is Ulysse Delceau at the wheel of his RDV competition number 10 machine. And for the moment, Brian Crowells can't quite manage enough to muster his way up into 7th position. So this is a former, the 2018 EuroNASCAR 2 champion, ahead of one of the Brax team members for Brax Racing, Brian Crowells, who again, remember, mathematically could win the championship, subject to what happens in this race. Back towards the front of the field, still in the same order. Dauenhauer from Castro. There's Alan Day for PK Car Sport with the Monster Energy liveried Chevy sitting there in third position. He's not really gaining anything on Andre Castro. He's still under pressure from Simon Palat, who sits behind, but I think for the first time, maybe, Tobias Dauenhauer is just starting to break away, and Andre Castro is losing ground to him, but at the same time, he's just pulling away from Alan Day. So first and second, just starting to increase the gap. 6 minutes to go. We go on board with Simon Palat, the young Belgian teenager, just threading his way out of the Jochenrinkbocht and down in towards the Jackie X chicane to chalk up another lap into the book. Another 4 kilometres completed, and well, now 24 minutes of this race to go. Alan Day in third position would give him 290 points at the end of this, which would probably mean that would be sufficient for him to finish third overall in the championship, such as the problems that have befallen Loris Hazemans. Where is Loris Hazemans at the moment? Well, he is, down in 27th position, Loris Hazemans. So I think we can largely discount him, which is such a shame, from the championship battle. He was just 12 points off the championship leader in second position, but those problems early on have cost him quite dear. However, his teammate still continues to lead the race. Alan Day still there in third place, still with the sort of yellow and lime green and orange car of Simon Palat sitting behind for Feed Vict Racing. He will want to finish the season on a high if he can. Remember, his best overall result in a main race was 7th position, and that came at Indianapolis. Quick replay of Gasper Donovsik, I think we might be seeing, as to something that's happened to him, but nothing showing on my screen as to what we might be looking at. So we'll see whether we can pick up on that a little bit later on. So back towards the battle for the lead of the race. The gap first to second is hovering around about 1.8 seconds. A further almost 0.8 of a second off that is Alan Day. Alan Muscaron is busy sticking his elbows out. The reigning EuroNASCAR Club Challenge champion. He was under pressure from Guillaume de Flandre, but then they all disappear off onto the gravel and slither their way beyond the circuit limits, which I think allowed Henry Tuamala to steal positions there. Yeah, so Henry Tuamala gains a couple of places without any effort at all there, because he stuck to the tarmac and the cars around him were all often in the gravel trap. That included Guillaume de Flandre, it included Alan Muscaron as well. So that's dropped them down to 13th and 14th places respectively. Holding up top honours in car number 479 for the Hockenheimring, the American FanFest car in the hands of Stefan Krisin, the esports racer. One of a few drives that we've seen behind the wheel of that car. He is looking to try and hunt down Max Lancer, who is at the wheel of the 188 Cal Racing Chevy, and swaps from one side to the other. Stefan Krisin, has he got the inside line for turn number one? Not quite, so round through Erst they go. He couldn't quite open the door there, and then ahead of them, that's a puff of smoke, and that all of a sudden is slowing. Santu Vauxhaturia is slowing, so problems for the 48 car there. Puff of smoke, and that is going to see him drop all the way down through the order there, Santu Vauxhaturia. Not sure what the problem was. It all seems to have settled down at the front here. You know, Tobias Dauenhauer, understandably, Andre will be pushing as hard as he can, but Andre Castro is just thinking logically here about this race. He's a very level-headed young man, isn't he, Andre Castro? And he knows that as long as he can gap as long as he can gap Alan Day in third place, he doesn't need to push Tobias Dauenhauer. He could just settle into second, and that would be enough to claim the championship.
Yeah, I think so. He had this moment when he was side by side with Tobias Dauenhauer, and he tried to overtake him for the lead, but then everything settled a little bit at front. I think Alan Day also lost a little bit the connection to the top two drivers up front, and I think right now Andre Castro is trying to find the right spot, a little bit of a gap on Alan Day, a little bit of security gap on Tobias Dauenhauer. Nothing can happen. He has a lot of time to react if something like Tobias Dauenhauer is spinning in front of him or something like that. So he's trying to build up a comfortable situation, and he's doing a very great job with that. And yeah, I think that moment when they were side by side, that was a little bit too much. Everybody said, okay, I'm a racer, I want to be the winner of the race. But in the end, then the thinking comes back again and said, okay, come on, I want to be the champion in the end. Stay calm, stay relaxed, make it a strategic good move. And that's what Andy Castro is doing right now, I think so.
Yeah, he is. He's just using his head and driving sensibly. Look at the battle that's going on for 7th place at the moment. That is Ulysse Delceau, who is desperate to try and catch up with the two cars ahead of him, which is going to be Bavo Fallon and then the red bonneted car with the black and the white flashes to it in the hands of Alessandro Brigatti, who is also racing for Feedvic Racing, the driver who finished 11th in the Elite 2 standings last year, or EuroNASCAR 2 as it was called. It came out of FIA CIK karting, did Alessandro Brigatti. He's got Bavo Fallon right behind him, who is the engineer, usually on the number 11 car for PK Car Sport, who has had a really good season, Bavo, in the Esports Series. We've seen him in the top 10 in the main races on a couple of occasions. He's had an 8th, he's had a 9th, he's gone really well in the heats as well on occasions, but it's only the main races that carry the points. He's had an 8th and a 9th as his best result of the season so far. Well, he's in 6th at the moment, so he's going to better that in the final race of the year. On board with Alessandro Brigatti, looking back at Bavo Fallon, the PK Car Sport Chevy sitting behind the Feedvic Racing car in the hands of the Italian. Down the straight and up towards the Jackie X chicane once more. Into the cleaner chicane, I ought to say. Bavo Fallon with a couple of wheels on the grass. Mistake, has to shortcut the chicane and is going to lose out to Ulysse Delceau, who will be able to go through. Bavo Fallon just rejoins ahead of Brian Crowells, but Crowells has got the momentum. Can he sneak through? No, not quite. So mistake from Bavo Fallon, loses just one place there at the cleaner chicane, and it means that he is now down in 7th place and is still upholding top honours for the cars that start numbered 300, i.e. the EuroNASCAR team members. Simon Palat, who won his heat, sitting there in 4th position, and he's another driver who is on for his best result of the season. 7th place at Indianapolis is his best so far in this one, in what has been a season that's had probably more lows than highs, because he's had sort of a couple of finishes outside of the top 30, another finish at Watkins Glen where he was only just inside the top 30, he was 29th, and it's sort of got better from Zandvoort onwards, with that 7th at Indianapolis, and then at Brands Hatch he was 11th overall. We didn't see him at Charlotte on the Roval, though, I don't think. Simon Palat couldn't make it before racing a fortnight ago. He is there behind Alan Day, who is behind this guy here, Andre Castro, who, with now 17 minutes to go, is nearly halfway through this race. But it's still, I would say, Andre, not fair to say that Andre Castro has one hand on the championship trophy, because we know in motorsport how quickly things can turn around.
Yes, right. When he's doing no mistakes, he will be the champion for sure, because he's so fast and so experienced in sim racing. I told you that 100 times during this season. But I thought about the thing that happened to Santu Centuria. There was smoke out of the car, and I think I have an explanation for that. Maybe he's using a H pattern gear shift at home, and maybe he shifted in the wrong gear, and then has just an engine explosion there up front. And then you see it's very difficult if you have an H pattern gearbox to find the right gear. And if Andre Castro, I don't really know what he's using, having H gear shift 2, something like this can happen very easily, and this can ruin your race very, very soon. I know on iRacing there are some wheels or some equipment stuff you don't have a shifter, so you use the sequential stuff on your wheel. That's not realistic, but you can use it also in the NASCAR cars. But I've seen a lot of rigs by those drivers we have here, and they have professional rigs at home, and I think a lot of them are using H pattern gear shifts here to have it the most realistic way possible in iRacing. So if somebody miss one of those shifts and going from second to first instead of third, your engine will blow for sure.
Yeah, could be a very good point made there. That could have been the problem. We can now start to see a little bit of traffic coming into play there. I think that was Gordon Barnes that just ran a little bit wide, and Simon Palat here almost having a go at Alan Day. I thought there was going to be a little bit of contact there for a split second. Alan Day is slow coming out of the cleaner chicane, and that allows Simon Palat to draw himself alongside. Alan Day squeezes as hard as he can, but they go side by side through the next kink that brings them up towards the next of the chicanes, so through the Villeneuve chicane, and Simon Palat has got the job done. He is through now. Very patiently he's been sitting behind Alan Day, and well, he is through now and up into third position now. It looked close for contact on the way in towards the cleaner chicane. Alan Day was slow coming out, so I'm not sure. On my screen it didn't look like there was contact, but of course from the driver's perspective who are inside the cars, maybe there was. Let's have a quick look. Well, this is Simon Palat side by side up towards the Villeneuve chicane, the outside through the kink, the inside line for Feedvic Racing and his Chevy heading through the Villeneuve chicane. So now the young Belgian, the 18-year-old, is not only on for his best result of the season if he stays where he is, he's on for his first podium of the season as well. And Alan Day is down into fourth place and is just dropping away a little bit now. It looked close, Andre Weigold, but I'm not convinced there was contact, was there?
I think it depends on which server you are right now. If you're at your home and my home, I think there were centimeters between both of them. It was very hard to judge. But in the end, it's NASCAR racing. Rubbing is racing. We know it from Days of Thunder. So even if there was contact, I think this is nothing to worry about in a motorsport series like NASCAR. It's all about rubbing is racing. So
absolutely, it was light contact. Lots of traffic coming up here now. Tobias Downhauer has finally managed to break Andre Castro. The gap is up to a couple of seconds, but of course Tobias Downhauer is the first driver to meet the back markers every time. Now iRacing will give the back markers an indication, blue flag, that quicker cars are coming through, but as we've seen in earlier rounds of this as well, on occasions the back markers don't exactly make it easy for the race leaders to work their way through the traffic, and let's hope that Tobias Downhauer isn't compromised by the lapped cars that he's about to meet. So he's heading up towards the Jackie X chicane. 17 minutes of the race completed, just over 13 to go. He's on lap number 11 currently, and no longer has clear track ahead of him because he's got cars to deal with. And by the look of it, the first of those he's going to meet is going to be the Hockenheim ring car, I think, is it not? Which will be car number 479, Stefan Krasin, who's running in 22nd position. back to 17th. Chris Ricard for Brax Racing is looking to try and haul in Jakob Krafek, who for Autodrome Most is doing good things at the wheel of his Toyota. And then we go back to Max Palumbo for Solaris Motorsport. Second time this evening he's been in the gravel at turn number 1 at Erst, but this time it looks as though he quits out of the game and returns to the pit lane, unfortunately. So problems for Max Palumbo.
A little
Fight
joke
going
on
on.
him.
Go on,
A little joke on him, sorry. But sorry, Max, I think you should stay with the media stuff instead of racing. This has not been a good evening for you. We know Max very well, the Italian giant who was in the EuroNASCAR media team, who's doing a lot of stuff for Solaris Motorsport. So great guy, very nice guy. But unfortunately, he did not get in the rhythm here today. So I just wanted to make that joke. Sorry, Max.
He's 47th in the championship standings coming into this one, so leave him alone. He scored his first points finish. He was 23rd at Charvel on the Roval last time out, 28 points to his championship tally. He was really pleased with that, but yeah, stick to the media stuff, Max. But it'd be great to see you back next season at the same time. So Alan Muscaron in 15th place. He's got his hands rather full still. The grey Chevy of Chris Ricard is still behind. The two Chevys brake together. You can see the nose of the car dip, but there's nothing doing. The Brax machine still sitting behind Alan Muscaron's car. Of course, he runs for DF1 Racing, the 28-year-old, who is the reigning EuroNASCAR Club Challenge champion for last year. Was former Saudi Kart champion in France back in 2017. He was runner-up in that in 2018 as well. And was also involved in the World Championships as well in Saudi as well, where he was runner-up in that in 2017. So he's from a karting background, switched to EuroNASCAR Club Challenge last year and stitched that sort of championship up, but is running down in 15th position and under pressure as well. We're now looking at Ulysse Delceau, who sits there in 6th place. He has got behind him no longer Bavo. Oh, there is Ulysse Delceau. Yeah, two similar looking cars. I thought he was the first of the two red ones, but he's the second of the two red ones. So it's Brigatti that's ahead. So there's Ulysse Delceau. There's Bavo Follon, who is not that far behind him. Out front, Tobias Downhour is just stretching the gap all the time. We saw he was going to meet traffic and thought the gap might come down. It's now up to 3.5 seconds that he leads. And Andre Castro equally has a couple of seconds now in hand between himself and Simon Palat. There is Tobias Downhour just heading out of Jochen Rindbocht. You can see in the background, the next of the cars is Andre Castro. So Tobias Downhour at the moment leading the race and on for what would be his first main race win, actually. The main races is amazing, really, that the main race wins have all been spread around, haven't they, Andre? If we include the prologue event that we had at Daytona, then Castro won that one. Then we went to Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. Guillaume de Flandre won that one. We went to Watkins Glen. Michael Smiddle won that one. Zandvoort was the next round. Jeffrey Rufen won that one. And then as we went to Indianapolis, Lasse Sorensen won that one. So from the first 5 races, including the prologue, we had 5 different main race winners until Michael Smiddle claimed a second win at Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit, and Andre Castro claimed his second win at Charlotte on the Roval. But it would be great, wouldn't it, to finish the season with another different winner, Tobias Downhour.
Yes, and this would show how competitive those guys are in this virtual world. The field is very even in different parts. I think we had something like 10 very, very quick and fast drivers fighting for the championship. Then we had nice midfield battles. I think there were around 15 guys almost on the same pace, and even further down the order we had great battles. So everywhere we saw there was competition, there was nice racing, and having so many different winners shows that we have a lot of capable drivers in this championship, in the real world and in the virtual world. So I'm looking forward to see those guys firing those V8 engines again at Vallelunga in September, when we go back to real world racing with those beautiful V8 monsters here in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. 400 horsepower, no driving aids, nothing, just pure racing, and that's what it's all about in EuroNASCAR. And also in the virtual world we saw some pure racing and a nice competition. It's all about who's the best driver on the grid, nothing with fake stuff like reverse grids or something like this. It's you're the one who's the fastest, then you will win.
Yeah, it's no driver aids. It is, yeah, as we say, pure racing EuroNASCAR. We're looking at Gordon Barnes, who is running way down through the order, trying to pick his way past Max Lancer's damaged car by the look of it. You can see the front end of the Cowell car now looking rather second-hand with the Italian behind the wheel, but Gordon Barnes fairly easily goes through there, who is going to be racing in the Club Challenge in 2020. He's an engineer and IT consultant by trade, has raced some late models and done a bit of Formula V racing in the UK as well in the past, albeit some years ago now, Gordon Barnes, but nice to see him out going reasonably well at the wheel of the Marco Steep Motorsport car, inside the top 20 at least is he at this stage, but the damaged car of Max Lancer is not going to give it up. Here we go. Right, so for 5th place, Alessandro Brigato under pressure from the second of the two red and black cars, which is Ulysse Delso. Bavo Follon is not far away. Brown Crowells is right in there as well. So this is the fight for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th places all together. 7 or 6.5 minutes really now to go. Whilst out front, Tobias Downhauer leads the race, and in second place, Andre Castro is on course to potentially become our inaugural EuroNASCAR Esports champion in conjunction with iRacing, with support from i-cin.com and Sim Racing League TV. So Ulysse Delso, nice and neat and tidy through the Jackie X chicane, the final corner, accelerating his way onto the start-finish line. And as Ulysse heads over the start-finish line here at Zolder in Belgium, Ulysse Delso, even in his championship year, did not claim one of the races here in 2018 because Guillaume Dumoulin, a Belgian driver, won at his home circuit, and Florian Venturi won the second of the two races. So even in his championship year, there was not a race victory. I'm surprised at that, actually, from Ulysse Delso, because he was pretty dominant in his championship year. He's under pressure. He's still under pressure himself, though. He's pushing hard to try and gain a place, but conscious that he doesn't want to lose a place to Bavo Follon that sits behind. And that's the difficult thing here, Andre. It's not the easiest circuit to overtake. You push hard to try and overtake somebody, you dip a wheel in the gravel or on the grass, and all of a sudden you're losing places.
Yes, it's a traditional track where every mistake will lead to a little bit lost time. It's not like those tracks with a lot of those asphalt pieces everywhere. It's grass, it's gravel. When you leave the track will penalize you in some way. So mistakes are not allowed here at Circuit Zolder. It's a very special track because it's so traditional held. It's nothing like those modern tracks where you can go wide and nothing happens because there's asphalt everywhere. I don't like that new kind of racing tracks. I like those traditional tracks much more. And yeah, I know everybody says it's hard to overtake on that track. I think drivers and teams say that about every track in the world. I have never seen a driver telling, oh yeah, I really like this place, it's easy to overtake here. I've never heard any driver saying that. So, but yeah, you're right. Circuit Zolder has something of a special flow. There are not that hard braking areas with those typically 90 degrees corners where you can ever overtake somebody on the brakes or something like that. So you have to prepare moves one corner to the another corner and then get the momentum right. So yeah, I definitely agree. Circuit Zolder is a special track and where you can say it's not easy to overtake, but definitely not impossible.
No, it's a great circuit. Yeah, you're talking about racing drivers complaining. They don't need, they've got their racing driver book of excuses, and they don't need excuses to complain as well, do they? You know, it's always a case of the car hasn't got enough power, it's difficult to overtake, or yeah, there's always an excuse. We're just looking at Evgeny Sokolovsky. What happened to the number 46 car? There we go, big spin going through Lucien Bianchibot by the look of things, and eventually gets the 46 pointing in the right direction, but that will have dropped him down through the order. Just having a quick look at who has gained more places than anybody at this stage, because that carries an extra 8 points as it's the championship finals. Well, it was going the way, those extra 8 championship points for the most places gained, starting position to finishing position, the way of Stefano Gustavalla, but all of a sudden he's dropped down through the order, has had a problem somewhere, and now the person who's gained most places is 22 places gained, for almost off the back of the grid, now up to sort of 11th or 12th position, and that is Chris Rickard, I think, at this stage. He's showing down in 16th on one screen I've got, but he's showing up in 10th on the other, so we'll await confirmation of that. But either way, it's been a good drive where he's picked people off. Looking at Max Lancer again, who was overtaken the lap prior by Andre Castro. Simon Palat in third place was also able to squeeze his way through, but he's the next of the backmarker cars that our double former EuroNASCAR Pro champion Alan Day is going to meet at the wheel of the Monster Energy PK Car Sport Chevy, the 24 car. Lancer bounces over the curbs with the damage to the front of his car, but Alan Day will probably have to wait until after the Villeneuve chicane, I would have thought, to get through. He's going to have a go on the way into the Villeneuve chicane, is he? Is he too far back? No, Max Lancer sees him coming. Alan Day gets a little bit sideways. Lancer then has to take to the gravel just to make sure he stays out of harm's way, but another back marker ticked off for Alan Day. And all of the time, he's just losing ground to Simon Palat, who was able to squeeze his way through some laps ago now, under braking in towards the cleaner chicane. Ulysse Delso in 6th position, still looking to put car number 108 under pressure, which is Alessandro Brigatti, but still conscious that Bavo Follon is not that far behind. Brown Crowles in the orange Brax Racing Ford is just off him as well. So still reasonably close, certainly for 5th and 6th, but 7th and 8th just maybe dropping away a little bit more as we now head towards the final minute and a half of the race. Well, at the beginning of the evening, Andre Weigold, who still continues to join me in commentary, we picked out, and both of us suggested Andre Castro was going to be a tough man to beat. Well, looks as though Tobias Dauenhauer is going to beat him on the track in the final main race, but I think sensible driving from Andre Castro with a lap to go is probably going to see him crowned the first ever esports champion, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, and well deserved. Andre Castro did a tremendous job here in this series. Also, Tobias Dauenhauer, I think he will end up in 2nd place in the overall standings and carry 35 points in the real world team championship. Not a bad spot to start a real racing series in the team championship, so everything's fine on Tobias Dauenhauer's side. I think he will have a half smiling face and half sad face tonight because he did a good job at front. And one thing I want to say in the last 20 seconds when you talked about this fight between Follon and Crowles, when I sum up all the stuff that happened in the YouTube chat during the races, I think when we have to crown a most popular driver, I think Brian Crowles will win this title, because I've never seen so many people cheering for one driver in the EuroNASCAR world than here in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series for Brian Crowles.
Final call, here comes Tobias Dauenhauer. He's going to head over the start-finish line and claim the final win of the year in the main race of the inaugural EuroNASCAR Esports Series. He claims the win, but Andre Castro finishes 2nd, and subject to official confirmation, that is enough to give him the championship crown in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series in conjunction with iRacing, with support from i-cin.com and Sim Racing League TV. So Tobias Dauenhauer will be as pleased as punch with his first main race win of the season, but Andre Castro, I'm sure, is going to celebrate in the traditional way in NASCAR somewhere around this lap, and he will be a very, very happy American. Simon Palat comes through and finishes in 3rd place, his best result of the season. Alan Day finishes in 4th position. So if I've got the maths right, Andre Castro, 343 points, he will be the champion, with finishing in 2nd place on 328 points will be Tobias Dauenhauer. 3rd place will go the way of Alan Day, who will finish on 288 points. Brian Crowles, I think, will be 4th in the championship, actually, on 276, because where did Loris Hasemans finish? 34th in the end. No, Loris Hasemans finishing in 34th position will drop down. So Brian Crowles will finish in 4th place. Loris Hasemans, I think, ultimately ends up in 5th or possibly 6th, subject to where Ulysse Delso will line up. He finished 6th. That will put him on 265. So Loris Hasemans just hangs on to what would be 5th position in the end. And Ulysse Delso, despite finishing in 6th place, will finish just behind Hasemans in terms of the championship. So I think that's the way it will work its way through. So we are going to await some of our drivers to join us. We'll just get some confirmation of the results, and then we're going to look back at some highlights of the real racing at Zolder. So confirmation of the results: Tobias Dauenhauer claims the win, but Andre Castro in 2nd place claims the championship. Simon Palat finishes in third position, ahead of Alan Day in fourth place, and Andre Castro now celebrating on the start-finish line. Alessandro Brigatti finishes in fifth place. Ulysse Delso in sixth, ahead of Babo Fallenbrand, Crowls, Davide Delara, and Chris Lehman finished in 10th place. Well done, Chris. Fred Gabillon was 11th, ahead of Henry Tuamala, Stefano Gustavaye, Hendricks, Muscaron, Ricard, Jeffs, and Nave Talor complete the top 18 as the donuts take place on the start-finish line. Max Lancer was sorry, where do we got to? We got to Gordon Barnes was 19th, Max Lancer was 20th, and you can see everybody from 20th down towards 28. So let's enjoy some of the donuts that you can see taking place on the start finish.